He's thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a grab.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's the warrior spirit right there, boy.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown.
That's going to be picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Herbert sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Guyton. Caught! Touchdown, Chargers!
That's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
Welcome all to another edition of the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. A place where mates drink beers and talk all things Los Angeles Chargers football. Andy Prophet here, your host. Alistair Lloyd joins me from his new digs, judging by the moving boxes in the background. Welcome, mate. Good to see ya. How's things?
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be with Jack again. Feeling really energized. We've waited 8 months to move into this place. We bought it back at the end of last year. We've been renovating it, and finally we've moved in. This is the worst my background will ever look for this podcast moving forward, so please forgive me if you're watching the YouTube version. Haven't got around to unpacking yet, but we press on in the spirit of the Los Angeles Chargers. So it's great to be with you guys.
Good, mate. Yeah, well, someone once told me there's 24 hours in a day, so say what you will. And as you said, we are graced with the pleasure of our third, Jacharias Reed. It is great to have you back in the mix, brother. How was your week off? Mushroom helmets aplenty, no doubt.
I was going to say, fresh off my sojourn to Sydney, freshly come from conferences about concussions in the classroom and the protective headwear that one must have when teaching young children. No, it was really good, actually. Work trips can go one of two ways. They can be a bit arduous and a bit annoying, but this one was full of rich information and speaking to a lot of other professionals and sort of getting the state of education around Australia at the moment, which is really cool. I'm just fresh off a parent thing, so I've had a couple of beers at a work function, and I just smashed a burger, so I'm ready to go, baby. Let's go.
Awesome, man. Yeah, like we said, good to have you back. It's good to have the three of us back. Thanks again to all listening or watching, however you're tuning in and wherever you're tuning in from. We really appreciate you guys and all your support. So don't forget, like and subscribe and feedback. We love our feedback, so hit us up. Now, before we get stuck into today's show, big news around Chargers camp. JC Jackson has undergone a non-invasive procedure on his ankle, Trigonum syndrome. I knew I'd cook that up. Essentially, you can either be born with it or develop it, I believe. Athletes, ballerinas, a lot of pointing your toe can develop this little bit of bone in your foot, and it's not something that he couldn't have played through, but Coach Staley said he's a bit uncomfortable, so we'll just get it done now and out of the way. Didn't stop Chargers social media, the social media of Chargers fans going absolutely bonkers and losing the plot. But anything, Al, I know we spoke about it for the last couple of days. Is there anything you'd like to ice you'd like to throw on the water you'd like to throw on the fire?
Absolutely. This is a massive bugbear of mine, and listeners, please don't fall into this trap. I'm going to partially throw a friend of mine under the bus here. His name's Adam, and he's a Carlton supporter, which is a local team. And every time we play that team, the first thing he mentions is who's injured on the team and who they're missing in that particular game. And reality check, in sport, there are going to be injuries, especially a contact sport like the NFL. You're not going to have your entire cattle. It's a given. All teams have to deal with it. The real litmus test for a successful organisation is if you can withstand the injuries that occur during a season. And there's always going to be, there can be a critical mass where injuries are a genuine excuse if you lose an entire line, right? Or in the NFL, quarterback in particular is a spot you don't want to lose. But even then, Philadelphia showed that they won a Super Bowl with, I remember they had Carson Wentz out, Jason Peters, Darren Sproles was out that year, and they went on and won with Nick Foles. So, Chargers fans, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. It turns out that it's not a significant injury, which is great. But even if it is, you can win a Super Bowl with an injured player. It's going to happen. I think we've got to change the way and we kind of deal with these issues and embrace Coach Staley's positive can-do attitude, and we can start on social media as fans. That's my 2 cents anyway. Do you feel the same way about that, Jack, or are you kind of it happens and people vent their spleen?
Oh, well, I think social media is always going to be a place where people vent their spleen, and the cuts and the scars run deep from previous head coach tenures and organisational failures and things. So I get it. I find it a little bit weird that he's a little bit uncomfortable and now decides to get the surgery 2 weeks out. He's been paid, clearly. He's proven himself at the Chargers. So, was he feeling a little bit uncomfortable in his last year at the Patriots? I don't know. I'm trying to let those thoughts not creep too much into my head. He's out for 2 weeks. I've got the quarterbacks today, and I think, not to spoil anything, but we've got one of the deepest cornerback rooms, or rosters, I should say, or rooms in the NFL. I think we're going to be okay. And if he's happy and that's what he wants, if it's, as you said, Andy, it's a more longer term injury and he's had it for a while, sort it out. Lovely. Let's go. Move on. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They did say that he noticed or felt something 2.5 weeks ago. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. And I guess that's sort of a fair window for due process to go, okay, can we deal with this without going under the knife, or if it was some kind of scope where they go in with a camera and that, and it's not that bad to sort of scrape out this little thing. They say 2 to 4 weeks, so he might miss the first couple of games. But look, I'm interested to hear what you say about the depth of our cornerback room, Jack. So without further ado, we'll tick that off. On to the show, let's go. We're going to run through any up-to-date roster changes today, how training camp's travelling heading into the final preseason match, a couple of tidbits from week 2 across the league, the other games there, and a little bit of what we can hopefully look forward to in week 3. But before we do all that, 32-18, Dallas Cowboys defeat the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. And after the ranting and raving from the joint practices this past week, this was a pretty flattening result, to say the least. Scoreline irrelevant, it's preseason, but the crux of it kind of stunk. Let's start somewhere. Let's break down the offensive position groups first. Jack, get us started with some observations from the quarterbacks. Please.
Yeah, I feel like I've been dicked in this podcast by some of the positional groups that I've got, but that's okay.
It's because you took last week off, mate.
That's right.
Fair
that's
enough. Fair enough. No,
Can't have a long
I'll
weekend and bitch about a 4-day week.
I'll wear that one. Listen, what can you say? There's some articles going around at the moment about how Easton Stick is vying for the second position from Chase Daniel. I didn't think Easton Stick actually played that poorly. He made some good throws. There were some anticipatory throws that I thought I haven't seen from him before. The turnover throw was pretty poor. I think I was on the social media Twitter for a bit and just commented on shocking throw, really poor platform, and just skied it. But I thought, for a young quarterback to come back after that and complete some of the throws and move the ball up and down the field like he did, showed a bit of grit. Chase Daniel, what can you do? You're sort of playing with 3rd and 4th stringers. So in my mind, nothing too much came out of the quarterback battle there. But Easton Stick is making some progress, be it very little. But it was good to see. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, I agree that he's shown development, but I just want to see a more complete performance where he's not doing those 1 or 2 things that make you go, oh, okay, he probably can't cut it. Because I agree with that first interception, it was, know you're down in distance. It's 2nd and 9. I understand you're trying to force a play. He's done well to step up into the pocket, heaves it deep to 2-on-1. Can't do it on 2nd and 9.
Check that ball down.
Check it down, and it was open. There was a check down available.
Oh, for sure.
And I agree with you, Jack. Then he made a few good plays. In fact, he went deep to Josh Palmer. I think it might have even been the very next pass. But then I remember there was an inaccurate throw to Larry Roundtree on a swing pass in the red zone where, he got a chance for a touchdown and he's missed him by about 6 inches. And
that was
it's
the
just a
loopy
game
one again, wasn't it?
Yeah, the loopy one. And then he ended with a strip sack turnover to end the first half as well.
Yeah, that's
So, I thought he was better last week. How about you, Andy? What do you think of Easton or Chase Daniel?
Yeah, I think you've sort of nailed it with Easton Stick. One thing on that, like if you're going to force the play, so if it's a 3rd and long situation and you're 2-minute drill and you got to make that throw or whatever, if you throw into two deep coverage, it's 2-on-1 on the sideline. Make the ball relatively uncatchable. You got to throw that shit half out of bounds. Put it only where Josh Palmer could have caught it. So he did just sort of jumped up into the pocket and then kind of got a bit big for his boots and just sort of heaved it over. He did recover nicely. Used his feet well. He was statistically our best rusher. We'll get to that. I thought Daniel for the third sort of stringers probably outplayed Stick. I think he controlled the game a little bit better in the second half. Storm Norton was no good, not helpful when he was on the field. What I want to know, though, you're talking a lot about like this QB2, QB3 battle. Is there actually a battle? I don't think they care. I don't think they care at all. They're just going, we're keeping 3, and these guys just get half the snaps each. But the mantra is competition and relationships. That's our way. That's Staley's our way, is the competition and relationships.
Yeah.
And we've got the relationships factor. The three quarterbacks in the room get along really well, but I just don't see the competition. There's absolute daylight between QB1 and either or. But what does it sort of say to the rest of the team if they're just going, oh yeah, the QBs are just the QBs, but everyone else has to fight like a dog to get their
and what's interesting as well, Andy, is Telesco usually holds things pretty tight under the vest, and he's gone on to the telecast and announced that they're keeping 3 of them.
Yeah.
Which was odd. I wonder if there's a reason for that, if there's some strategy involved. I know it makes more sense. I'm sorry to the listeners. I'm not 100% across the rules of COVID at the moment, but there is an element of keeping 3 QBs in the event that you have one of those disasters.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's factoring into the decision that you need to bat 3 deep. But look, I would have liked. We made it clear in our roster predictions and preferences that we wanted to take 2 with us. So. Yeah.
I mean, perhaps it's uber Machiavellian here, and we might be paying the organisation far too much credit. But if we have shown that we've got 2 capable backups on our roster, come week 8, a team loses a quarterback. I mean, there are other options out there, but I'm glass half full here. Is that you could easily shop one around for a 2nd or a 3rd round draft pick. Listen,
I'm not buying your premise, Jack. Okay, I don't know if either have shown themselves to.
Listen, I'm just trying to think
hot bag of ass.
I'm just trying to go glass half full here. I mean, it's not like we have it, but I mean, there's that. I mean,
love your optimism.
What I wanted to do. Oh, sorry, that's shocking. I've had 3 beers, but what I did want to note is that what a
Maths
great
teacher,
case,
right?
What a great case study in how there's such a talent gap between QB1 and someone like a Eastern Stick. Justin Herbert made mistakes in his first game that he has never made again. In his second game, he made mistakes that he's never made again. And that time the uptake time between mistake and actually correcting it is arguably a week or 2. Whereas Eastern Stick has had years in the system and has had years to develop, still makes those same quite simple, maybe let's not say simple, but quite basic mistakes that we've got. So, it's wonderful to see that as a case study, looking at your backups versus your number ones, and there's a clear, whether it's a processing speed or just the intangibles of learning, it's really, really quite interesting. And I just can't wait to see Justin Herbert take the field in week 1. Hopefully he doesn't stink it up. Because, we've seen Patrick Mahomes out there. We've seen bloody Josh Allen throwing balls in preseason games. Yeah. I hope we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to the wide receivers. Alistair.
I think it's easy to start with the player of the game in this one, and it's the great and fast-developing Josh Palmer, who made 3 plays, each of which were pretty special in their own right, and showcasing variety in his skill set I didn't necessarily know he possessed. I mean, you've seen examples of it last year, but he had one big overhead, essentially contested catch on the deep one. Then he had one that showcased his route running, where I think it was Deron Bland, the cornerback, in the slot. He's kind of whipped in, out, and then after catch, he's made 2 defenders miss. And then the screen pass for the touchdown, which showcased electric speed I didn't know he had. And then off he goes. Concussion protocol, apparently, but he's now out of that, which is good, based on the coach today. That was the clear takeaway for me. Jack?
Oh, I think I tweeted it out as well. He's an amalgam of somewhere between Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. He's got this power and ability to get up and grab the jump ball, but also got this bizarre speed that just came out of nowhere. But not just speed, but power at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm super excited. And another one, I cannot speak about the wide receivers and just say, can we please get Michael Bandy on this roster? Can we please find Michael Bandy a spot? He is your Wes Welker. He is your Danny Amendola. He is your Cole Beasley type, whatever. He just finds space under or over the defense, and I love it. And
high praise.
I love him.
And our good dear friend Kyle, I saw him on Twitter. He'd written, "Oh yeah, he's 7-Eleven. He's not always doing business, but he's always open."
He's always open, baby.
Yeah, I was going to steal that one as well. I think Dan Wade was in on that too. He's really pushing his case as the backup kick returner behind Carter as well. I mean, look, no one did particularly well on any returns. But, he knows what the coach wants, positional versatility. He's a workhorse in 2 phases. That's the kind of guy you want in your locker room. Jalen Guyton
catches every target his way as well, which is shown pretty good hands.
Yeah. Look, Jalen Guyton, I'll jump on him. Pretty quiet again. Decent route for that first down, and probably unlucky not to get a pass interference his way. I probably expect to see a bigger role out of him this coming week because Palmer will miss because of concussion protocol. Will he miss? I think he'll miss.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah. Bigger role this week. Interested to see if he takes advantage of that and pleads his case for a wide receiver 5 role. Yeah. Not much else notable about the other wide receivers. Trevon Bradford wasn't bad.
Bradford
maybe
nice
practice squad.
And Joe Reed, I thought, flashed as well. Joe Reed had a couple of catches too. So, yeah.
And if we're going to be down on someone, Jason Moore was targeted 8 times and caught 2 of them. So I thought it was interesting. It looked like they were going at him quite a bit, but he missed a bunch of opportunities to make a play, and Kelvin Joseph was covering him, and that's pretty tough. He's a 2nd-round draft pick, and he got the better of poor old Jason Moore. So that was a cross from me.
Yeah, I'll ask you this, Al. What do you reckon we need to see, or either of you, whoever wants to jump in, what do you reckon we need to see from Bandy this week to, like I said, really push his case beyond doubt as a 5th or potential 6th receiver on the roster? Are we getting more special teams and pass coverage versatility with guys like Leonard or Gilman or Webb than we would on special teams and offense with Michael Bandy? I don't know. Yeah. I have minimal doubt in my mind that he's the kind of guy who we'll see him get claimed off waivers as soon as he kind of gets his ticket stamped, if it happens. So, what do you reckon? I know the DB. Go for it.
I'll start. I think he's a hometown hero. He's a California boy. So there's that. What else do we need to see from him? Yeah, the special teams versatility. I mean, he hasn't dropped a punt. He hasn't muffed a kickoff. I think if he has another 6 to 8 catch game for 70, 80 yards, how can you not pick him up? How can you not? As I said, he's always open, and it gives us something that we haven't had. Keenan has always been able to get open in a variety of different ways, whether that be down the field, across the field. But and Guyton is that one-trick pony to a point where he's just speed. Bandy is something that I cannot remember having, perhaps other than maybe like a Danny Woodhead type, that guy that is able to get in and under and find those creases within that sort of that I guess 5 to 12, 5 to 15 yard spot. And he's always going to be that 3rd or 4th read, right? But if he's going to be that 3rd or 4th read and he's not dropping passes, far out. I mean, that's a safety blanket. And also considering that our tight end room is not particularly deep as well. Alistair, what say you? I mean, I've covered a lot there. So.
No. My concern for Bandy is for him to make the roster. My suspicion is the coaches are going to be more concerned at some injuries that are popping up in other rooms. So when you've got Spiller having hurt his ankle and the tight ends being what they are and some cornerback stuff going on with soft tissue injuries, my suspicion is they might want to shore up those position groups by carrying one extra. Whereas with our wide receivers, suddenly that is the deepest position group almost on the team. And everyone above him, you could argue Guyton has it, but everyone above him has looked really good, from Keenan to Mike to Josh Palmer to DeAndre Carter. So it is a real luxury to carry a sixth wide receiver when none of our tight ends are healthy. And so you look, but I'm with you, Jack. If he was to say he has a 100-yard game in this third preseason game, maybe that's the difference. But it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah. I think if Jalen Guyton really gets an opportunity and doesn't take it, and Bandy, shows out, who knows? Don't count it out. Running backs. Not a good day for the running backs. Once again, it was clear in the play calling what Staley wanted to see out of this offense, and run, especially on it almost looked from the first drive that it just wasn't going to be. The run blocking was breaking down early, and we'll get into the line in a bit. But it was a real step back, to be honest, from any sort of promise we've seen or felt from the last week. None of these guys stepped up to the quota. Anyone that you want to pick on in particular? Yeah, like you mentioned, unfortunate about the injury to Isaiah Spiller. But
that seems to be week to week. He may be touch and go for the Raiders game, which will be a shame. It's good that Josh Kelly has shown a bit. He looked pretty good last week. This week, not so much, with the 7 rushes for 18 yards. Something that stood out to me is why we're not giving Xander Horvath more opportunities to touch the ball. I mean, looking at his snap counts, Gabe Neighbours had 13 snaps and Horvath was only on the field for 4 snaps. So I ask why. I mean, is he maybe such a lock that they're not playing him in the preseason? That's one end of the spectrum, that he's had such a good time that they're giving Neighbours more snaps. Or is it the other way and Neighbours is in the driver's seat and maybe he doesn't make the roster? Which of those two do you think it might be, Jack?
The optimist in me wants to think that he's a lock, but it's probably Neighbours. There's that, we think about culture and we think about continuity and we think about Justin Herbert and the relationship he has with Gabe Neighbours. I know. Listen, I still saw enough from Joshua Kelly to be like, oh, wow, this guy's still got a bit of pep in his step. There's a bit of power there. Will he be able to keep it up for the whole year? That remains to be seen. And what hope do you have when you don't have much help on the offensive line running the ball? I mean, it's
a big point.
Yeah, there's not much there. So for the pop and the endeavour, shall I say, that Joshua Kelly and Spiller, and to be honest, Roundtree to a point as well, there was still something there. Good to see, but yeah, a pretty shocking day for the RB room.
Yes. Alistair, anything further from you? Nor Xander Horvath, give him more snaps. Jack, the tight end group.
Oh yeah.
I really
I really struggled with some of these names, I must admit. When Sage Surratt is the 5th ranked offensive player for the day, you're probably not having the best day out. And then you had Eric Cromenhoek, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and then Hunter Campermoyer. To the listeners and the viewers, I was I chose to stay very late at our Australian rules football game, the school that I'm a middle school coach. I watched the senior boys play, and my lift was a bit late. So I sat in the cold and wet, and I actually sat there watching this game on my phone. And it was a very comical sort of situation where I'm watching over and over and over offensive snaps, trying to see what Sage Surratt, Eric Cromenhoek, and Hunter Campermoyer are doing at 9:30 at night whilst I wait for my fiance to pick me up. And to be honest, I couldn't see much. So I don't have too much here other than Sage Surratt blocked okay from what I saw. Had a PFF rating of close to 70. Andy, anything from you that you saw that was interesting?
We've got to help him out, Andy. There's not. I don't have a song this week, I'm afraid. But we've. Again, it seems that if they're going to carry a 4th, which I'm not sure if they are, they use Hunter Campermoyer predominantly as the run blocker when they're in the I formation. You might have Horvath at fullback, and then Campermoyer as the inline tight end. Yep. Sage Surratt is very undersized for a tight end. He's basically a jumbo wide receiver. So he kind of stands out as being a bit more athletic, and he's making plays out in the flat. And then Cromenhoek, all I noticed is him getting pushed back on one right into his own running back, and it kind of resulted in a TFL. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to look at Cromenhoek again. Yep. Forgive and forget. No, not when it's a competition. But yeah, none of them are standing out as obvious roster candidates. One of them might kind of fall into a role because every other fool ahead of them's got a soft tissue injury at the minute in the tight end room.
Pain in the ass.
And isn't it bad, just to stop for a second, that the position groups we've been slightly concerned with heading into the year, linebacker, tight end, are the ones where we have these soft tissue injuries or ankle surgery, Tranquil and K9 and all the tight ends. So I don't know. I hope they just magically appear together en masse in week 1 and they hit the ground running. But there's a little bit of concern there from my perspective.
But we've also said that in Staley's offense and defense, those are the two perhaps most or least valued positions. So go figure. I mean, I'd rather carry 3 tight ends and have Bandy as a 5th or 6th receiver. I mean, that's my opinion. What's anything from you, Andy?
Yeah, I mean,
did you do any game tape on Campermoyer?
No, I did keep more of a closer eye after Sage Surratt's name was burned into my brain after the serenade last week on the show. I can't believe that you tried to, and I almost committed to singing the second chorus with you.
Well, I know Kev is listening. Kev Diego doesn't want me to sing ever again. He's just said, "Don't do that, thanks." So the listeners have spoken loudly that will not happen again under any circumstance, unless he makes the team. Then I'm going to have to belt one out.
Yeah, it'll be, God knows. Yeah, look, the issue with just saying, I'd rather have 3 tight ends and Bandy as a 6th receiver is that all of these guys, and Trey McKitty's brief in his career thus far, but Gerald Everett's hasn't always been available for the previous teams he's been on. Parham obviously had that sickening injury last year and is now hampered with a hamstring, I believe. So you just run a risk of, if you don't have that 4th tight end available, we need one of our, and look, our other, I mean, then you're relying on sort of a Josh Palmer to block, or Xander Horvath. So there's not much to watch from the tight end room.
Andy, just on that one, but is anyone picking up Surratt, Cromenhoek, or Campbell off a practice squad?
I wouldn't have thought so.
So I mean,
I wouldn't have thought so.
If you've got that.
So just keep him there and you can bring him up. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. But look. All right, Alistair, the offensive line.
Bit more to tuck into with these big fellas. And just the starting lineup was Zach Bailey at left tackle, Brendan Hymas left guard, Will Clapp centre, Zion right guard, Storm Norton right tackle. And then there were other people coming into the game from there. I'm going to double down on what I highlighted last week, which is Jamari Solya is standing out in the best possible way.
Oh, yeah.
Massive.
He had 31 pass blocking snaps, 0 pressures. You could see some athletic limitations when he was asked to pull on one outside zone run on Spiller's first carry. But I think that's what we knew about him coming in. He's not athletically gifted. But tell you what, he looks pretty sound in pass protection. And he's not going to start. He's going to be a backup off interior guard. Maybe he can start in the years to come when someone, people like Filer might have to leave in free agency. But I'll start with our 6th round pick because I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hymes sort of struggled a little bit in pass protection. I thought he sort of went backwards a little bit this week. Pipkin seems to, and as of today, he got named as the starting right tackle. So congratulations to him. And
not formally, but essentially. No, Staley wanted to say it's still a battle and we'll tell you when it's done. But the reporters there are tweeting he's the guy. He's the first team guy.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, potatoes. He will get there eventually.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's from what I saw on the weekend. There were better things out of Pipkins than there were Norton. So, I'm cool with that, if that's what it's got to be. Yeah, so it's looking fantastic. Jack, I'm really interested to know or just hear you gush a bit about the offensive line and some of these new guys. We didn't hear you about it last week.
No. I mean, Sawyer this week I thought stood out, as you pointed out, Alistair, among all of them. I thought his pass blocking especially was very, very, very good. You're right, limited physically, but I don't think that's what we're going to need of him. I love the big boys, and I just know for the next however long that we're going to have Slater, Johnson, and those are going to be the anchors on the line. Those are going to be the anchors on the line. Zion Johnson, again, was, I thought, popped out on tape as well. Not making many mistakes. You can see that he's learning. His footwork, I think, is improving from week to week. And his ability, his pop, the strength that he's got in that first contact with defensive linemen is something else. He is an absolute weapon. And I love watching it. I think sitting in the rain, watching tight ends, what really got me excited was watching his pop in a couple of those first drives. That strength that he's got in his hands is phenomenal.
Yep. There were two runs in particular. He sealed the play side defensive tackle on an outside run to Roundtree. And then there was an inside gap run that Kelly got through for 9 yards that I think was doing the rounds on Twitter, where you can see that lateral movement and strength in conjunction. He looked the goods. No pressures given up from his pass blocking snaps either. Yeah. The other quick one I'll mention, Andy, is I thought Will Clapp was way better this week, the centre. Yep. And since he appears to be a lock to make the roster as a 9th offensive lineman, because someone has to be a backup centre, it's him or that Hunter, I think he's
Ryan Hunter,
Ryan Hunter,
Will Clapp was better this week. I thought he really struggled last week. This one, centre looked fine. No pressure up the middle. Didn't miss any blocks or assignments.
Yep.
Foster Sorrell, is that even? He played close to 60 snaps.
Not bad. There was one bull rush where Sam Williams got a sack on him, I thought, but I don't know. I'm not practice squad candidate. The line gave up 3 sacks, and it was those fringe players. It was Hunter, Sorrell, Bailey. So that's what you want to see. It's not Zion Johnson and the ones that matter.
How lucky are we sitting here talking about these guys? And I reckon 4 years ago we'd be going, "Oh, he's going to have to start. Oh well, he'll be okay." But our stars don't even play. It's so exciting.
We're being pretty ungrateful, just bitching and moaning about the right tackle situation. Although it was blaringly obvious to do something about it, but it's a real treat to be feeling this way. Any themes or particulars about the offense as a whole, the play calling, anything, guys, that you took of note, Jack?
I just thought our wide receivers getting open, so there's some familiarity with the entire offense around this, the schemes that we run. I just think, as I said, Chase Daniel and Easton Stick are making passes, and that's more than I can say for watching preseasons in the past, where it's sometimes a real struggle to move the ball down the field. There seems to be every player isn't making glaring mistakes. There doesn't seem to be the ones where it's meant to be a curl inside and the quarterback throws it and the wide receiver curls outside, and it's a complete miscommunication. So there seems to be a lot more control and a lot more calmness in the quarterbacks all the way through. Al, what say you?
Yeah, to that point, the third down efficiency was good, 7 of 15. What do you want to see? But a lot of room for improvement because the rushing was really poor. It was 25 carries, 77 yards, 3 yards per tote. So not good enough. I'm sure that'll be the focus heading into this last game. The play calling is geared towards giving these guys a chance to make the team, and let's see what they can bring to the table. Yep.
And just for me, a couple of untimely penalties on big plays. Chargers doing Chargers things, and the 2 first half turnovers. Can't win a game with -2 in the turnovers for mine. So, a bit disappointing, but we move forward, and hopefully we see a better turnout next week. On to the defense, Jack, with the edge rushers.
Well, a name jumped out at me, and that's I'll go on with the one that you think I'm going to do. It's Carlo Kemp. Kemp. Wow, what a game! This guy popped off the. I think what he had 3 total pressures, 1 quarterback hit, 3 tackles, 1 assist. This guy sort of And he was sort of around the ball out of that left outside linebacker position. So I was really impressed at that. And the fact that he's a no-namer and he's coming into this defense says something about the scheme and says something about, again, the control of what and the messaging and understanding of what everyone needs to do. So I thought that was great. I also thought Jamal Davis was really fun to watch too. He's going to be that. Whether he makes the squad or not, I'm not sure. But if he's stashed on the practice squad, I think he's got the intangibles to be someone fun to watch. But it all goes back to Mr. Chris Rumph. If we talk about a gentleman who has clearly gone away and not only worked on one facet of his game, but he's worked on his technique, he's worked on his strength, he's worked on his agility. And I was watching in his pass rush moves. He's actually got a suite of them. He doesn't just have one. He doesn't go to the well every time with a bull rush, or he's not trying to always spin outside. There's actually some variety in his game. And that's, I think, that connection with Joey Bosa. You hear Joey Bosa in the mic'd up. He always talks about, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to change. You add Khalil Mack in there. You add, he's obviously learning from the best. So really wonderful to see. I thought he showed grown man strength. What a great option for the third pass rush. Awesome.
Yeah, I thought he was the best player on defense again, even though it was limited. He just popped. And he was saying on Chargers Weekly last week, last year wasn't me. This is back to me being me. He was really speaking quite seriously about how much last year embarrassed him and his personal brand, which I think is being a bit tough on himself. He's a first-year player. He knew he came in like a matchstick kind of thin and had to put on the weight. It's clear that he's put in the effort and he's got the best to learn from, as you said, Jack. Anyway, Andy, I'll let you mention something.
No, that's all.
We steal your thunder. We just rabbit, blah, 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 go on and leave you with nothing to say.
No, that's fine. I usually jump in when I feel like you guys have missed something. But yeah, Rumph, Carlo Kemp and Jamal Davis were the three guys of note for me off the edge.
I'll
jump into the interior.
I'll just say, though, I'll tier them. If it's a choice, on my notes I've written on Carlo Kemp, almost game. Almost had an interception on a batted pass, almost had a sack of Danucci, whereas Jamal Davis I thought was just slightly ahead. He had an inside move for a tackle for loss. He had another tackle for loss after that. I think he's just ahead of Kemp if we're going to be ranking them. I've seen more from Jamal Davis.
Fair play.
Anyway, if there's nothing else, I'll move on to the defensive tackle group, which again was, somewhat not underwhelming, but there wasn't not too many players who consistently showed up. I actually had a negative note that stood out to me, which was Jerry Tillery and Morgan Fox. You do not want them both on the field on early run downs. Neither of them can play the run particularly well. They were being pushed back frequently, sealed easily. Both looked really bad against the run. That's my note.
Yep, that's fair. For me, Big Joey G, Joe Gaziano's big sack on the inside stunt. That was really fun to watch. He just cannonballed in there. Run defense was okay, but most of the help came from the secondary, the linebackers and the defensive backs. 5 missed tackles again on run plays. And actually, a note, the majority of our tackles were being made 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. Four players registered to tackle within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, which is just unacceptable, personally. Jack?
A bit disappointed that Obonia didn't really do too much either. I mean, I think he's going to take a little while to develop. He was taken relatively late, so I would have liked to see a little bit more out of him, but he's probably got a couple of years in the strength and conditioning room before I think he's going to make an impact. And I don't know where Jerry Tiller is. We bash him a bit here, but where does he fit in? I have no idea. Will his play raise when he's got the starters around him? I just don't know.
He might not get the chance if he doesn't show something in this last game.
Well, that's it.
It's the 6th DT, if any.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Linebackers, Andy?
Linebackers, indeed. It seemed like a fair more dulcet appearance from the linebackers this week. Troy Reader, especially, noticeably quieter. Damon Lloyd sort of looked to be amongst the action, but relatively ineffective. I guess Cole Christensen was handy in coverage. Had a nice pass breakup. That's kind of all I've got on the linebacker group. Jack, what did you see out of them?
I kind of liken them to a hamster on a wheel. They look like they're running really, really fast and there's lots of movement, but is it actually really going anywhere or is much happening? So, no, there wasn't too much that I sort of saw. I mean, Ogbongamiga played okay, had a nice couple, but he was hard. He was only on the field for 27 snaps or something. So
yeah, I thought he was the pick if you had to choose one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I was disappointed to see was once I saw Nick Neiman in the game, I really clued into him because I'm quite keen to see what he can be because he's a fantastic athlete, played really well on special teams last year. And I saw he was mugged up in the A-gap. They were going to bring him on a blitz on one run, and then he stunted around and he could have got Cooper Rush, but he didn't get there. And then I thought he did struggle against the run as well. And because he's more of an athletic guy, he's maybe a little lighter than the bigger linebackers, and he was being pushed off the ball. So nobody really stood out in the linebacker group. A couple of down groups in a row, but maybe onto the cornerbacks. I think you've got those ones, Jack.
Yeah, I do. I've done the typical teacher thing, and I've got some names here with ticks beside them and some crosses and some unhappy faces. So,
what year are you teaching?
Yeah, exactly. Year 12? Kids are soft these days. No. So I bet
edit that out.
Yeah. No, all the students I teach are wonderful, wonderful young people. I love you all, and I respect all of you. Michael Davis, I gave 3 ticks.
Edit that out.
He only played 5 total snaps. But listen, if he's going to be our quarterback for, as I alluded to earlier in the show, he is, if he's our worst corner or our 4th or 5th corner, then I think this is a pretty deep group. Kemon Hall, I've given 1 tick. I thought he looked okay. His coverage grade was probably the best out of all of them. He was about 70, hovering around 70%. So, and he played around 30 snaps. Asante Samuel, can't really say much. He only played 5. Ja'Sir Taylor, I thought he sort of popped on a couple of plays with his speed. His run defense was better. His coverage was quite poor. And unfortunately, Dean Leonard is having a bit of a shocker. He's had a couple of shockers in a row.
Is he making the roster?
I am struggling to see that he will. Yeah,
me too. Because I've actually been quietly impressed with Ja'Sir Taylor, mainly for his flexibility. He can play in the slot. And look, I haven't seen him bust a coverage or anything like that. It looks like they're generally not throwing in his direction too much. And as you say, they sent him some kind of a slot corner run blitz, and he managed to affect the play.
His run defense is near elite in per PFF, which you could see that. There's real speed there.
Good recognition.
Which is fantastic. Yeah.
He looks like he's come in and the game isn't too fast for him.
Yep.
Whereas Dean Leonard and I think one of the new safeties is they're just a bit too slow for it at the moment. I will bash Brandon Sebastian again. I hope he gets cut and never sees a football field. Awful stuff. 70 yards on 3 receptions thrown his way. And there was one of them, he just had absolutely no clue where the ball was. Safeties, Alistair. That's all I've got.
Wow. Whack.
Okay, safeties. And I think we all have a salutary lesson to learn from the first 2 games and what we've seen from JT Woods. And that is fan expectations around 3rd-round draft picks perhaps need to change, with certain exceptions like running backs who can hit the ground running. But everyone when JT Woods was drafted saw the athletic traits, saw that he'd led college football in interceptions, and automatically assumed he's going to come in from day one and look like a starting caliber player. Whereas, and Bucky Brooks says this all the time, the goal with 3rd-round draft picks generally is after 1 or 2 full seasons, you hope they can become a starter.
Yeah.
And with JT Woods, I think we've seen everything that they were saying in the lead up to the draft. The speed is clearly on display. So is taking poor angles to the ball, missing pass breakups when he had an opportunity, missed tackles. He missed 2 tackles in this game.
Yep.
So yeah, look, I think there's lots of work needed before this guy can see the field at NFL level in anything more than a very limited capacity. Sort of the role that Alohi Gilman was playing last season, where he's maybe in the red area because he's big. But I was a little disappointed. You can see flashes, but he looks quite a long way off the pace against backups.
Yeah.
Am I being too harsh?
No, well, he was the safety that I was alluding to in terms of it just seems like the game's still a bit too fast for him, and even though he's got that athletic ability, he's a player drafted for his traits rather than kind of his overall footballing ability. So there are going to be growing pains, and if you're expecting a lot, then it's going to bite you on the ass for him to come in and do a big job this year. Him and Raheem Lane, 100% reception rate when thrown to, 37 combined yards of the total 134. Yeah, kind of looked a little lost at times on special teams as well, old JT. So unfortunate. I'm really wanting to fly the flag for Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor and JT Woods. Jasir Taylor's kind of making it a little bit easier than the other two, but I still have faith. So 1 week to go. 1 week to prove it, guys. Yep. Any points overall? I think for me, the defense overall, I don't think there were any penalties on defense this week, which is a big win. I might be wrong on that, but it was far less noticeable if there were. Jack, anything for you that you noticed?
I did want to just touch on JT Woods.
Oh, sorry, I jumped over you there.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, if you go glass half full, is that he's going to be the 3rd safety, perhaps even 4th safety. Quietly, Ben DeLuca had an alright game. Mm-hmm. But Woods, there are rare players, and you're right, Andy, that he's been drafted for his traits. But there were times where you go, wow, that guy is fast.
Mm.
And what you've got to, I guess, restrict...
Is that when he was chasing Turpin for the touchdown?
He didn't look fast to me there.
No, but if he's going to be a roaming that roaming safety on top of the defense, and he's got that speed, if he just gets it together, maybe give him 2 to 3 more months in a system behind, and have someone like a Derwin James next to him, telling him what's going to happen and telling him, this is what you need to do. There could be some stuff. There could be some stuff there. The intangibles are stuff that you can't buy. You can buy them. You can't train them necessarily, but I really hope that he can put his reads together, and maybe a year in the system. So yeah, but just hold. Overall, defensively, I thought it was again a bit of a meh game. Yeah, to be honest, not much from me that we haven't covered, Alistair.
No, just the 1 point. Last week I bemoaned the third down, allowing third down completions, and this week was much better. Only 2 of 12 completed by Dallas. So that's elite. They were elite on third down. But otherwise, if you actually analyse each position group, there wasn't too much to write home about. It seemed like the run defense was a little squishy, and people weren't quite performing at the level you're expecting. But as Andy said, one more game against the Saints.
Yeah, and not bad, not great, just which is okay. If that's what backups are doing, cool.
Yeah. All right, on to special teams. I've got one word that we'll need to tick a box for when we're producing this video. So I'll leave that. Return game was feeble. And that's before I even get to any of the protection. Bandy Bradford nor Joe Reed sort of did anything to excite. Blocking was abysmal. There's no containment on special teams on blocking or on sort of returning or protecting or coverage. I'll leave it up to one of you because I'll blow an O-ring if I go on about the kick protection. So Jack, take it off me.
Oh, I mean, you give up 2 touchdowns in a game the way that we did. I cannot imagine that will happen again somehow, just with the internal standards that they set. I can't imagine Fiken is going to be too happy. I mean, that's embarrassing. that's what it was. It's feeble and embarrassing for a new special teams coach to give up 2 touchdowns in a single game to the same player. That's not good. That is not good at all.
He looked. Did you see him on the sidelines? He looked like some kind of lizard. Like his tongue was darting out, the eyes were moving around. He looked like a reptile who had not seen sun for a long time. And I don't know, two touchdowns in a half, not in a game, in a half.
Yeah.
My goodness. But you know what? I'll go glass half full the other way, which is how friggin' fast was this Kevontae Turpin dude?
Oh,
Like,
amazing.
he actually made some outrageous moves. I mean, I was looking at the coverage going, okay, he sealed that block, he's missed. But Turpin also made some guys miss through pretty special speed.
On the punt return especially.
He's won himself a job, that's for sure.
Yeah, good on him. But not much else for me. But that's it.
No,
Yeah,
J.K. Scott's still going with the hang time, which was good to see. I'm really liking the look of him as a punter.
Yeah, we got pretty close on the gunning for that punt return TD, but we just don't have a gunner yet. So still some the same sort of battles. I guess if right tackle's sort of locked up, we've still got the running backs. We've still got special teamers. It's the same battles. I just feel like this game sort of asked more questions than answered them when you look at it from a whole, which was just, I don't know, I guess with the hype that we've had this preseason up until even after last week, we go, we lost to the Rams, the result doesn't matter, but, we're seeing good things. We're seeing a rejuvenated Josh Kelly. Then we see a backwards step and it's flattening, like I described it at the start. We move forward. We'll get on to the Saints and next week's game in a little bit. Let's go around the league. Jack, what did you notice around the league? Just something fun that you picked up?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things, but I'll start with, I did share it on our NFL chat. I think I'm falling for Justin Fields. I'm really, really falling for Justin Fields. I think he looks great. I think some of the throws he's making are fantastic, fitting them into some really tight windows. And he's got that athletic ability. So I'm pleasantly surprised about how I am gravitating towards watching Chicago because I'm liking what I see and watch out of Justin Fields. So good on you, young man. Well done.
I agree, but I'll let you volunteer to watch the Chicago games this year. I've got a feeling they're going to struggle. Yeah. But he gives you something to watch. Likeable, strong-armed guy. I was caught by the Kansas City Chiefs and how they play all their starters, and Mahomes is playing a half and made a few great throws, threw two touchdown passes, looked real good. Kelsey was getting involved. They've got this wide receiver, Justin Watson, who played for the Bucks for 4 years, did nothing, and he's been the talk of training camp in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of catches, and he might just be one of these annoying guys who pops up. That's what happens when you've got a great quarterback, right? You kind of make receivers through chemistry and whatnot. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Karl Loftus had another sack. That's 2 in a row. Leo Chanel, he showed up and made some plays. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be the Chiefs fighting to kind of stay on top of the mountain, and we're going to have to dethrone them. It's going to take a lot of work. They look good. And like you were saying earlier, Jack, you do just get that tiny bit worried that our starters haven't taken a single snap in the preseason, although Coach Staley would say that the joint practices are even better, etc. I don't know. I've got to think that there's something about playing in a game. I just played a game of AFL social football with employees and colleagues for the first time in 5 years. And the difference between training by yourself when you're just, doing your own aerobic stuff versus suddenly in a game and you get bumped and you need to run and sprint, it's just a different kind of fitness. And I wonder if there's some given during the preseason.
Yeah. Well, speaking of good teams in the AFC playing their starters, Josh Allen looked great for the Bills. 3 out of 3, 45 yards, and that TD throw was something else to Gabe Davis. Their quarterback room is very nice. Case Keenum looked at home, 10.7 yards.
I'd like him as our backup quarterback.
Seriously.
Exactly.
They've got a really good backup situation. Khalil Shakir again. Their their run game looks ridiculously good.
I really like him too. I like
I
the
do
team.
as well.
Like,
I love Greg Rousseau too. Greg Rousseau's going to be nasty, man, nasty.
And look, it's always good to see the Donkeys cop a whopping. A whooping!
Hey, just quickly, can we cast our mind back to when we were trying to find tight end options and who we'd like on our team? What's going on with OJ Howard? There's something weird going on there. He looked stiff. He's on the verge of being cut, I think.
Really?
I'm not sure if he's even going to find a spot. Yeah, he looks very, very, very stiff. Anyway.
a nice pivot on tight ends. If you're into tight ends, go and watch the freaking Baltimore Ravens. I tell you what, they've got this Isaiah Likely from Coastal Carolina who had 8 catches for 100. They've still got Mark Andrews, arguably best tight end in the league or in that conversation. They've got their blocking guy, Nick Boyle, and they took another guy in the 4th round, Charlie Kolar. I reckon that they're doubling down on this idea of everyone wants Lamar to get better at throwing outside the numbers. He's actually not that good at that. So we're not going to ask him to do that. We're going to trade away Marquise Brown, and we're going to focus on getting all these tight ends, players who are good at getting open in the middle, and we're going to lean on this running game. They've got 4 very good tight ends. Give us one.
Or just a healthy one.
I'm going to eat some humble pie preemptively. I did watch the Jacksonville game, and I think I may have been wrong about my assessment of them. I think they actually might be okay. They might be a little bit frisky. So I said that they're going to
Don't resile from your position so quickly based on half of a preseason game, Jack.
No. There's something about them. They look far more comfortable. They actually look like they're having fun. Like, their quarterback doesn't have a coach that is grinding on women at a nightclub before coaching. It actually looks like he's, Trevor Lawrence is actually smiling. So that's quite nice. He gave the Dikembe Mutombo. He said, no, because he fit it just over the court. I can't remember what the cornerback was, but he had a great throw. So I'm going to renege on that. And the last bit of news from my end is that there's rumours that Ndamukong Suh is going to the Raiders, which I read the other day. So that's an interesting kind of news report, and that makes me hate the Raiders even more. I didn't know I could actually do that, but there we go.
Family, trust, respect, brother.
Oh, yes.
Family, trust, respect from me too. What else? Romeo Dobbs again. He's just got a drop problem he needs to fix. Lovely go up and get it touchdown catch there. Really fun. Was it 51-yard touchdown run from Danny Etling as well? And Chris Olave looked all right.
Yes.
2 catches, 28 yards and a score. It'll be a fun matchup next week for Davis, Asante, one of the two. Al, any other games or any other rookies that you saw?
Former Charger Justin Jackson had 7 carries for 54 yards for the Detroit Lions, and I've been enjoying watching them on Hard Knocks. They're quite a fun team, and they seem to have captured the heart of the nation over in the States. Has been quite a likeable blue-collar team, and good to see Justin Jackson, who was a little unfortunate not to be re-signed. I mean, clearly injuries plagued him, but it was nice to see him doing well in his new home.
Actually, speaking of former Chargers on the Lions, Eric Banks recorded a sack against Indy. No Aiden Hutchinson, but they still seem to do all right. Desmond Patman, shone for the Colts, 5 receptions, 103 yards, and a tutty as well. Kenny Pickett seemed to improve a bit. 6 to 7, 76 yards. That's a super
interesting... Sorry to speak over Warriors stats.
No. 6 of 7, 76 yards, 10.7 per attempt, and a 151.5 rating.
Yeah, what's interesting is all 3 quarterbacks seem to actually be playing quite well. You've got Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Pickett. I don't know which one's going to win. They all seem better than Big Ben was at the end of his glorious career last year. Just a big blob sliding around the field. Give Kenny a go and in a new uniform. He looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And can you remember a throwback to when we thought Jeffrey Okudah might have been a really good pick as well for cornerback for us?
What's happening there? He was pick 3 overall.
Yeah, pick 3, and he's just gone to nowhere. I mean, I think he could possibly have won a starting position, but he's been nowhere, which is a real shame. I mean, he had some great traits. And that was the last thing I had. So yeah.
Yep. Good to see the Raiders as well struggling in coverage. They gave up 300 yards in the air to the Dolphins. Skylar Thompson looks like a handy backup. Might push Teddy Bridgewater. Who knows? They might take 3. All right, training camp and leading up to the New Orleans Saints. What, Jack? What can we look forward to? What have you seen? Any guys in particular out of camp coming up in the last couple of weeks? We've missed your input on this since you've been out.
Well, other than the battles that you kind of spoke about, there's nothing too much I am necessarily looking for that probably hasn't already been covered. So do you mind if I jump? Alistair, I was going to just jump to the New Orleans because I've got some notes about them. But,
Go for it. Yeah,
fire up.
I think what I would like to see in this last game against the New Orleans is that if New Orleans play Ruiz, Throckmorton, and Trevor Penning, it'll be really interesting to see how someone like a Chris Rumpf goes up against a Trevor Penning, for example, who was much maligned, saying that he's not going to be good enough coming out of college and he's going to take a year. He's actually been pretty darn good. So I think
against the run, yes. Against the pass, no.
I think he's been better than what people have predicted. Let's say that.
Yeah, I was allergic to him, so I'll be very interested to watch the Rumpf versus Penning battle. And
it's a good chance to the New Orleans Saints have always built really well in the trenches, especially on the offensive line. So it'd be really good to see what the defensive line unit for us, even if it's our seconds or thirds out there, how they take it to them. So that's what I'm most excited to see.
Well, there's a job on the line for the interior defense. I mean,
for sure.
Covington, Gaziano, Fehoko, no one's really separated themselves. And as you say, Jack, they build strong from the interior New Orleans. So that might be the position group I'm probably most interested to see play, other than the running backs. Just other news for Chargers fans was the return of kind of Kenny Murray to training. And I thought he spoke quite passionately about the difficulty he's had over the last 12 months. He seemed frustrated. He seemed angry. And he seemed like he wants to kind of right past wrongs and kind of live up to his first round billing and kind of reclaim his name. He was basically steam was coming out of his ears. He was really disappointed. He's saying, it's not me. This is not who I am. Very unlucky ankle injury. The poor guy's just rolled it on a goalpost or whatever that originally triggered this now 12 months of debilitating injuries. So there's a reason why the team let Kaiser White walk. They thought Kenny Murray has it in him to be a starting middle linebacker. And he's had a slow start to the offseason again, but now there's 2 weeks to ramp him up. Staley was saying that goal is for him to play in week 1 against the Raiders. So we'll see how he goes. Okay. Yeah, listening to him.
I didn't know that. Yeah, okay.
Well, that's the goal. It's aspirational. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
They also want JC Jackson back in 2 weeks. But I'll be watching him. It's a shame we won't see him this week, but just something. It's good news at least that he's back on the turf practicing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You never like to see a guy when you go back and watch his college highlights, like you wanted him on your team, So we wish him all the best in his recovery. I think we've covered well the stuff around the Saints game. Al, I know you've got a list. Just refresh us on who is no longer with the squad.
Yeah,
after,
sure.
The cut downs.
Down to 80 now. So
yep.
An undrafted kicker's gone. James McCourt, a guard, is gone. Cameron Hunt. Linebacker Damon Lloyd has been waived injured. So have edge Ty Shelby and cornerback Tavon Campbell. Yes, so we're down to 80 now and more cuts. Obviously, the huge cuts ahead after this next game. And then we're into the real thing. God, I mean, you can get excited talking about preseason because it's football, but it's not really football, is it? No. It's not. It's kind of half of the thing. And it will be really good once this last game's out of the way and we can focus on the Raiders in week 1.
Oh, yeah. Still a very speculative kind of, especially because we're not seeing any of our starters play, are we? So still a very speculative approach you've got to take to a lot of this. Still guessing, and there's still the excitement about let's go, baby, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Can't wait to have that first week NFL Monday off. Taking it off work to sit there and just love life and watch football. Well, guys, if there's nothing else from either of you, I'm all out of stuff for this week. So thanks all for listening. Please get involved with us on Twitter at @TDO_Chargers. Alistair's been a bit crook this week, and he's been pumping out some awesome game threads. Just
Awesome
little
stuff.
sort of
Awesome
tidbits
stuff.
and morsels about all of our opponents to come. So by all means, jump on that. Get involved with some of the banter and stuff that we throw out there.
Yeah.
Once again, like and subscribe. It's been really good to have you with us. Thanks for coming back, Jack. And we will see you next time on the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. Go Bolts!
Ciao. Bye.